This is a super short. Do you want to hear a story? Okay, here's a story. Once upon a time in a small town nestled between rolling hills and a sparkling lake lived a girl named Sophie. Now Sophie was a quiet girl. She was thoughtful and kind, always ready with a helping hand or a gentle word. She had a circle of friends at school, but with them she was just ordinary, playing hopscotch, skipping rope, and sharing secrets. What set Sophie apart was a love that burned brightly within her, a passion for singing. Oh, how she loved to sing! She would hum tunes while brushing her long silky hair, lost in a world of melody and rhythm. When her ginger cat Marmalade dozed on her bed, she would whisper songs into his furry ear, knowing he wouldn't meow in protest because he was too busy taking a nap. And when she helped her mom in the warm, fragrant kitchen, she would sing softly, her voice blending with the gentle clatter of pots and pans. But there was a twist to this tale. You see, Sophie's singing was a secret, a precious treasure she guarded closely, for she was too shy to let anyone listen. She feared that if others heard her singing, the magic would vanish. So she sang only when no one was listening, hiding her gift away like a bird that's afraid to show its song. One sunny afternoon, as Sophie was skipping home from school, she heard an announcement that made her freeze in her tracks. Her music teacher, Miss Harmony, had declared, "We're having a school talent show. Everyone is welcome to perform." Sophie's heart raced like a rabbit. She wanted to sing. Oh, how she wanted to share her songs with the world, but on stage, in front of everyone, the thought terrified her. She stumbled home, her mind in a whirl. That evening, as Sophie sat in her room, the words of Miss Harmony's announcement echoed in her ears. She stared at the floor, twisting a strand of her hair. She could feel the familiar pull of shyness, the instinct to hide away. But something inside her, a tiny voice, whispered, "Just try." And so she did. She stood on a chair, imagining it was a stage. Her room, filled with the soft glow of dusk, became her spotlight. As she sang, her voice soared, filling every corner, reaching for the heights she never knew she could touch. Suddenly, the door creaked open. There stood her big brother, Sam, known for his playful pranks and booming laughter. But this time, a look of surprise and admiration was etched on his face. He hadn't meant to eavesdrop, but he couldn't help but peek in. "Soph, you're really good," he said, his voice hushed with awe. Sophie, startled by the sudden intrusion, froze. Her cheeks flushed, her heart pounding like a drum solo. She wanted to stop, to hide under her covers, but she continued singing, her voice trembling slightly. When she finished, Sam didn't burst into laughter or tease her as she'd half expected. Instead, he stepped closer, his eyes shining with sincerity. "You should go for it, Soph. You really should audition for the talent show." Her brother's words echoed in her mind long after he left. A part of her, the shy, scared Sophie, wanted to refuse, to bury the idea under a mountain of excuses. But another part, a part that had never been heard before, whispered, "Maybe you should." That night, Sophie tossed and turned in her bed. The thought of the talent show loomed large in her mind, both exciting and terrifying. Just as she was about to drift off, a knock on her door brought her back to reality. Opening the door, she saw none other than her best friend, Maya. "Are you coming to practice with me?" she asked, her eyes twinkling with excitement. You see, Maya was as spirited as Sophie was shy. While Sophie worried about every possible thing that could go wrong, Maya faced life with a can-do attitude, a trait that often rubbed off on those around her. The next morning, Sophie found herself at the auditorium after school. It was their first practice session. As the afternoon sun streamed through the windows, casting long shadows on the stage, Sophie stood frozen, her hands shaking slightly. The vastness of the auditorium, the towering curtains, the silent rows of chairs seemed to mock her. Her voice trembled as she began to sing. Every note felt exposed, every word hanging in the heavy silence. But Maya, ever the supportive friend, stood beside her, her hand warm and reassuring. In the weeks that followed, the auditorium became their haven, the stage their sanctuary. Every afternoon they would meet, and Sophie would pour her heart out, her voice echoing through the empty space. With each practice, her fear lessened, replaced by a growing confidence. Maya, with her infectious enthusiasm, helped Sophie find strength in the music. She'd clap along to the beat, adding a layer of joy to Sophie's songs. She'd remind Sophie to smile, to breathe deeply, to lose herself in the melody. And most importantly, she helped Sophie remember the words. For there were times when the enormity of the upcoming performance threatened to overwhelm Sophie, causing her to forget even the simplest lyrics. Then came the night of the talent show. The auditorium was buzzing with excitement. Backstage, Sophie's heart hammered against her ribs. Her hands were clammy. Her throat felt tight. Maya, sensing her friend's nervousness, squeezed her hand gently. "You got this," she whispered, her eyes shining with belief. As Sophie's name was announced, she took a deep breath, trying to steady her voice. Hand in hand with Maya, she stepped onto the stage. The spotlight hit her, momentarily blinding her. When she could see again, she noticed her parents in the audience, their faces beaming with pride. She saw Miss Harmony nodding encouragingly, and then she saw her little cousin, Theo, his eyes wide with wonder. In that moment, Sophie realized that the stage wasn't a monster, that the spotlight wasn't a spotlight, that it was just a place to share her gift, her song. Taking a deep breath, she began to sing. Her voice started small, tentative like a bird testing its wings. But as the melody flowed, her voice grew, becoming stronger, clearer, more confident. She poured her heart into every note. She remembered all the words. She smiled, she breathed, she flew. As the last chord echoed through the auditorium, Sophie opened her eyes. The applause was thunderous. People were standing, cheering, clapping. She could hear Maya's squeals of delight above the din. In the midst of the roaring applause, Sophie beamed. She had done it. She had faced her fear and emerged victorious. As they took their bows, she caught her father's eye. He was wiping a tear from his cheek. Her mother's lips were curved into a wide smile. Even her gruff old Uncle Tom was nodding his head in approval. After the show, as the adrenaline was wearing off and the echoes of applause faded, Sophie felt a rush of emotions. She was tired, exhilarated, proud. But above all, she was happy. A weight that she didn't know she was carrying had lifted. She felt lighter, freer. Later that week, as Sophie was recounting the experience to Maya over hot chocolate, she noticed a change in her friend's demeanor. Maya, usually bubbling with enthusiasm, was unusually quiet. "What's wrong, Maya?" Sophie asked, her voice laced with concern. Maya sighed, stirring her chocolate. "I wish I could have done more," she murmured, her eyes downcast. "What do you mean?" Sophie asked, puzzled. Maya looked up, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "I wanted to help you more with your singing, but I couldn't," she whispered, her voice cracking. "What do you mean?" Sophie asked, her brow furrowed in confusion. And that's the story. See you next time.